2016 South Africa, an elephant matriarch died of natural causes. More than a dozen elephants from multiple unrelated herds traveled for miles, some crossing territory they rarely entered, to stand beside her body. They didn't feed, they didn't fight over territory. They simply stood there, touching her with their trunks for hours, sometimes returning across multiple days. A generation ago, most scientists would have told you not to even ask the question. The study of animal emotion was considered borderline taboo in research. The fear was anthropomorphism, projecting human feelings onto animals. A wagging tail might just be a wagging tail, not necessarily happiness. But elephants have forced researchers to reconsider that caution. The behavioral evidence has become too consistent, too specific to dismiss. Elephants are one of the only animals known to show interest in the bones of their own dead. Researcher Cynthia Moss studied African elephants for over 4 decades at Amboseli. Elephants approach skeletal remains and investigate the bones with their trunks, running the sensitive trunk tip across the skull and tusks with deliberate care. This behavior is selective. Controlled studies placed other animal bones nearby. Elephants investigated elephant skulls and ivory significantly more. Whatever drives the behavior seems specifically tied to recognizing their own kind. The vigil behavior, arguably the most striking evidence of all. When an elephant dies, herd members gather around the body, sometimes for days, touching it gently with their trunks and feet. Movements remarkably similar to how living elephants comfort distressed herdmates. Herds have covered the bodies of dead elephants with dirt, leaves, and branches. A behavior with no clear practical purpose, it rarely conceals the body completely. Some researchers call this one of the closest funeral ritual analogs in the animal kingdom. The physiological evidence adds another layer. Cortisol levels, the same hormone that spikes in humans during grief, rise in elephants too, and stay elevated for an unusually extended period afterward. Compared to other stressful events like relocation or minor herd conflicts, this is a measurable, sustained physiological stress response specifically tied to loss. Elephant herds are matriarchal, built around deep multi-generational bonds. Matriarchs sometimes live 70 years, carrying decades of ecological knowledge. Remembered migration routes, watering holes during drought, danger zones. When a matriarch dies, the herd loses a walking library. Herds who lose an experienced matriarch show measurably worse survival outcomes, particularly during difficult environmental conditions like drought. The emotional weight of loss may be evolution's way of preventing herds from simply moving on. There's a case that's become almost legendary, an elephant named Eleanor, studied extensively by the Amboseli Trust for Elephants. When Eleanor collapsed from illness, a matriarch from a different group approached. She spent time trying to help Eleanor stand, nudging and lifting with trunk and tusks, before eventually leaving. Days later, after Eleanor died, elephants from at least 5 different unrelated groups visited, an extraordinary pattern of cross-group attention to a single death. Does this mean elephants grieve exactly the way humans do? Honestly, no scientist can say for certain. We can't directly access what's happening inside another species' mind. What we can say is that elephants display specific, consistent, selective behavioral patterns around death, remarkably similar to grief responses in humans and other highly social mammals. Maybe the real lesson isn't that elephants grieve exactly like we do. Maybe it's that grief itself isn't uniquely human at all. Something like sorrow may have evolved independently more than once. In deep evolutionary history shared by large-brained, socially bonded mammals, the emotional cost of caring enough about another individual that losing them changes you. Closing beat, subscribe/engagement moment.